Hi, ladies and gentlemen. We're here with Fudd and friends. We're friends, and here's Fudd.
I don't even
Hello.
think we're friends.
Welcome back.
We just happen to
We're just here then.
coexist in the same space he is in right now.
Yes. We seem to
Correct.
be bothering him in a certain way, but we'll continue.
It's okay.
Today we're finishing off the last week of the Old Testament.
Woohoo!
Ooh.
We're at it's a little late, but alright. Esther, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Malachi to finish off this week. Today we're at Esther, finishing off Esther from 6 to 10.
Shut up, silly woman.
I was trying to look for that online. I can't seem to find it. I like it.
You haven't found the other one?
What other one?
I don't know what he just said, but he just confused us all.
Oh no, I haven't searched for any yet.
I don't even think he knows what he said. Right?
Yeah.
Continue.
as we were saying, chapter 6. This is where the king Ahasuerus, Xerxes, where he can't sleep for that one night, or he can't sleep. So I guess he goes to the room where they read to him the books. And that's where he found out that Malachi was the one who uncovered the assassination of him, and was asking what was ever done to him, and was he ever got a reward and stuff like that. And no, he wasn't. And that's when the king asked Haman, what should be done for this man who the king wished to honor. And Haman got all excited because he thought it was him. So he was thinking, do the what is it? The royal treatment, wearing the king's robe, riding the king's horse, and being paraded through the city because he thought it was him. So that's what he thought. That's what he had said, and the king ordered the Haman to bestow the honor on Mordecai, which was his enemy, with and it humiliates him, Haman, where he goes back home and he tells his wife and his people how humiliated he was about that, and that's when he was getting the stuff to kill him. But that day he went and he went humiliated because he had to prepare everything for him. That was the 6. And then the 7, where Esther requested Haman for the dinner. Yeah, I think he invited him for one dinner, and then from that dinner he said, "Come to the next dinner." Those 2 dinners, and the second one, and then
So the second one was just so nothing happens in the first one, just so they can trust her, maybe.
I don't know. That's what I was. I don't understand why she did it on the second one, or maybe her plan wasn't set, or she didn't know what to do yet, so she gave her some more time. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong. I don't think maybe she needed more time, because I'm all like, could have done it in the first one. But the second back when she reveals to the king that Haman is planning to kill her and her people and the Jews, not the Jews. It sounds I say Jews or the
Juice.
Jews. Yeah. That's when and then he gets wroth. He gets mad at Haman. Well, so I forgot what he does to Esther. He tries to do something. He goes, "Is he gonna take the queen from me too, or something?" And then he gets really upset. And then that's when he orders Haman to be hung on the very grounds that Haman had prepared for Malachi. Because he wanted to see, and his servant said, "Oh yeah, this is what Haman had prepared for Malachi to be hung," and he just said, "Well, hang him there." So he died. He was hung and pretty much dead. Then we go to chapter 8, where Esther and Haman. Who's that from?
For the deaf.
Oh, okay.
It's a military death.
I don't know. I don't think he gave him a military death. He was pretty mad at him, at Haman. And then chapter 8, Esther is given Haman the estate, and Mordecai is promoted to high position in the king's court. He becomes what Haman wanted to be, pretty much. And then Esther pleads with the king to revoke Haman's decree against the Jews, which it can't happen because always as a meet in the Persians, the order can be revoked. And then just a new decree is issued allowing the Jews to defend themselves against any attackers. Pretty much because they couldn't go against it. Chapter 9, on the day of the enemies, the Jews were supposed to overpower them, and the Jews instead defeated their enemies. Yeah, the enemies were supposed to take them down, but they didn't. The Jews beat them, and then they killed 500 men in Susa, including Haman's 10 sons, and thousands more throughout the provinces.
Moment of silence.
Well, they were trying to kill the Jews for no good reason, so I don't know. Then Esther requested receive permission for the Jews to be continued defending themselves. The Jewish established a feast of Purim to commemorate the victory and deliverance. Chapter 10, King Ahasuerus imposes tribute throughout the empire, and Mordecai had rank and deeds are recorded in the royal chronicles. Mordecai honored and becomes second in command to the king, respect and revered for his leadership and advocacy for the Jews. And pretty much, these chapters depict the dramatic reversal of the fortunes of Mordecai, and the Jewish highlights them of justice for deliverance and establishing the Jews and the festival of Purim. Pretty much what everything Haman wanted. He got the death, and Mordecai got the victory.
Very
God
eloquent,
was with them.
Manuel.
What?
Very eloquent.
Thank you.
Like if AI wrote it for you.
It's a summary, sir.
It's the spirit.
And then now we're
Look
on
who's talking.
I know.
Ezra.
That's why I'm saying it.
Ezra 7. Continue Ezra 7. Ezra is a skilled scribe and descendant of Aaron, the chief priest, set from Babylon to Jerusalem during the reign of King Artaxerxes of Persia. Artaxerxes issues a decree granting Ezra permission to lead the group of Israelites to Jerusalem and bring offering for the temple. The king also authorizes Ezra to appoint magistrates and judges to enforce the law of God and the laws of the king in the region. Ezra acknowledges God's hand in the succession of his mission and prepares to lead the people of Jerusalem. Isn't that where he's the cupbearer? Remember, he's the cupbearer from the king, and then he asks, "Why are you down today?" Was that in the chapter more down? Where he's supposed to be his cupbearer, and the king sees him that he's sad, and he gets kind of scared because he can't be like that because he can be like he's giving his life, and and then Ezra lists the heads of families who return with him to Jerusalem, along with their numbers. Before starting the journey, Ezra gathers the people at the river and realizes there are no Levites among them. Ezra sends for Levites to join them, and a group of Levites as the temple servants respond. Ezra declares the fast to seek God's protection for their journey, as they will carry valuable offerings for the temple. The journey is successful, and upon arrival in Jerusalem, they preset the offering in the temple and deliver the king's orders to the regional authorities. Ezra's prayer, where Ezra is informed that many of the Israelites, including priests and Levites, have intermarried with surrounding pagan people, violating God's law. Ezra is deeply troubled by this news, publicly expressing his grief by tearing his clothes, pulling out his hair, and sitting in mourning. He offers a heartfelt prayer to God, confessing the sins of the people and acknowledging the unfaithfulness despite God's grace, and allowing them to return to exile and rebuild the temple. And the last chapter, a large assembly of Israelites gather around Ezra, moved by his prayer and confession. One of the leaders suggests that the people make a covenant with God to separate themselves from the foreign wives and their children. Israel leads the people in making this covenant and proclaims is sent throughout Judah and Jerusalem for all the gathering of it and addressing the issues. The people agree to put away their foreign wives and detailed investigation and conduction, leading in separation from those who are married foreign women. And it ends with the list of those who had intermarried and the actions they have rectified the situation. Ezra highlights the importance of obedience to God's laws, and leadership of Ezra is guiding the people back to faithfulness, and the community committed to reform the order to align their covenant with God.
Okay.
Pretty much. Well, that was that one. Now Nehemiah. Maybe I was thinking of Nehemiah.
That was that one.
Well, that was the Ezra.
That one.
Now we got Nehemiah. That's probably what I was talking about. He was a cupbearer. Okay, Nehemiah. There you go. Nehemiah, cupbearer to the king. Artaxerxes of the Persia hears news that the walls of Jerusalem are broken down and the city is great distress. Deeply troubled, Nehemiah prays to God, confessing the sins of the Israelites and asking for favors before the king to allow him to rebuild the temple. Nehemiah appears sad before the king, who inquires about his distress. Nehemiah requests permission to go to Jerusalem to rebuild the city, and the king grants him requests, providing letters of safe passages and resources for the construction. Nehemiah secretly inspects the broken walls of Jerusalem and motivates the people to begin rebuilding.
Literally.
Yeah, he does it in the middle of the night where everybody's asleep, and then he goes out there and inspects it where nobody saw him, trying to see. He didn't want to give away what he was trying to do. And then chapter 3, it details the organization of the work with different groups of people responsible for building specific sections of the wall and gates around Jerusalem. Family, priests, and other groups are involved in the rebuilding effort, demonstrating a community into the project. Chapter 4, we go to oppression arises from surrounding enemies, including Sanballat and Tobiah. I could be saying it wrong, people, so forgive me. Who mocked the plot against the rebuilding efforts. Nehemiah stations guards and encouraged the people to continue to work while being vigilant. Despite the threat, the work continues with workers carrying weapons as they build. Yep, they were both the guards and the builders. They must have been really tired. Be guarding and be building. The chapter 5, a crisis arises as some Jews are oppressed by their wealthy brethren, leading to widespread poverty and debt. Nehemiah is angered by this injustice and calls a public assembly where he rebukes the nobles and officials for exploiting the people. The leaders agree to return the land and properties they had taken and stop charging interest, leading to a covenant and supporting each other. Stop charging interest. Should churches charge interest?
What a stupid question that.
What do you mean charge interest?
Yeah, there's some. I wonder if people ever charge interest
In church?
Yeah, or things like that. I don't know.
In what?
I don't know. It's just interesting.
But like, how would the church charge interest?
Or it's just like brother to brother. Like these were brothers.
Maybe brother to brother.
Maybe maybe that.
I think it was like in business and commerce. It wasn't like the actual church. It was like because people had businesses too, and people were like, they had money to lend out, or they asked for favor, loan sharks or whatever. I don't know. And that's when I think that's when the interesting kicks in. I'm not sure.
Well, I think because they needed help, and instead of just helping them out, they were just charging them interest instead of helping the brothers out.
Brothers or brothers?
Brothers.
There's a difference.
Wrong.
All right, and then the two people and the other enemies continue to conspire against Nehemiah, attempting to lure him to a trap. Nehemiah refuses to be distracted or intimidated, staying focused on the work. After 52 days, the wall is completed, and the enemies of Israel lose their confidence, recognizing the work was accomplished with God's help. I think they did that, but I think they just needed the gates, if I'm not mistaken. Nehemiah appointed gatekeepers, singers, and Levites to protect the city. He also records a genealogy of those who returned from exile, ensuring the purity and the continuing of the community. Chapter 8.
Isn't that what? Who was it? Was it David? No. What king was the one that also had to bring back the people and make sure they all counted because they were in exile, but then they came back and they needed to all have their positions. I can't remember, but this has been done before, I think.
Okay. You gotta rewind the podcast from before. And then Ezra chapter 8, the people of Jerusalem gather as one to hear Ezra, the scribe, to read the book of the law of Moses. The people respond with reverence, standing as the law is read and explained to them. The Israelites celebrate the Feast of Booths with great joy, rediscovering their traditions and recommitting to the covenant with God. For now, I guess, because Israel kept doing that. But chapter 9. The Israelites gather for a day of fasting and confession, recounting their history from Abraham to the present. From
You are
Abraham,
fake news.
this guy.
You are fake
now.
news. You are fake news.
Abraham to the present, acknowledging God's faithfulness and their own failings. The Levites led the people in prayer and confessed, praising God's mercy and making a renewed covenant to follow his laws. As we go to chapter 10, the leaders, priests, Levites, and people sign a written covenant committing to follow God's law. They pledge to avoid intermarriage with foreign nations, keep the Sabbath, observing holy days, and support the temple throughout tithes and offerings. Tithes and offerings.
So you mean a building fund?
I guess so. Well, no, it's just tithes and offerings. Offerings for I'm assuming for the building and stuff that needs to be built, and the tithing for the Levites.
China.
I don't think they were there at that time.
Or were they?
Well, I don't know. You could be right.
X-Files.
Now we're back. Okay, chapter 11. They are repopulating Jerusalem. A tenth of the people are chosen by lot to live in Jerusalem, while the rest remain in other towns. Leaders, priests, Levites, gatekeepers, and temple servants are listed, showing the organization and validation of Jerusalem. Can't say the word.
Revalidation?
Yeah. Like I guess like renewal or the
Where's the word?
rebuilding. Oh, right here.
Oh, revitalization.
There you go. Revitalization. Even if I hear it, I don't know why I still can't say it right. Chapter 12. The priests and the Levites purify themselves, the people at the gates and the walls, in preparation for the grand dedication ceremony. The wall is dedicated with great celebration involving 2 large choirs and processes around the city. Proceeds sessions around the city. They're doing sacrifices and rejoicing in the temple. Pretty sure having like a party feast. Chapter 13. I guess. I don't think there was drums and stuff. Well, maybe not.
It
Nehemiah.
was more like
Probably.
Maybe.
Or Cajon. Manuel's favorite.
Cajon? I don't know they had those. Chapter 13. Nehemiah returns to Jerusalem after a period of abstinence, discovers that some of the reforms have been neglected. He finds that an enemy of the Jews have been given a room in the temple, which Nehemiah promptly clears out. Nehemiah forces the observance of the Sabbath, confronts those who have intermarried with foreigners, and addresses the negligence of the Levites. The chapter concludes with Nehemiah praying for God to remember his effort to purify and restore the community according to the covenant. So he was just pretty much a spiritual leader to restore Jerusalem. He faced a lot of things, and it's like almost like everybody else, trying to get everything back, and people don't want to listen, or they would do it and then they kind of don't. But he was just a restorer after all that had happened. Meaning, they were out of the country. Okay, and then we have that one Psalms.
We can skip over it.
Yeah, but it's that it was Psalms 126. Y'all want to read over it?
The only one that matters is Psalms 91.
Or 23.
Or 23.
Or 1 or 100 or 117.
That's the one that all the grandmas and moms knew.
91?
91 and 23.
Mm.
Like, I don't even notice, but in my grandma, she has two Bibles, one that's open to Psalm 23, one that's open to Psalm 91.
Wow.
She's like, so the words can go in the air.
Doesn't she put her bills in the Bible?
Yeah, so that God can pay them.
Que Dios te pague.
I was opening her Bible. There was like the water bill, the light bill, the taxes. I'm like, Mom, ¿por qué tienes esto aquí? She's like, ay, para que el Señor los pague. And then she forgets because they're in the Bible. And then she gets late fees.
Also, that means she doesn't read the Bible then?
No, she has multiple. She has one just for the bills.
Right.
Just for the bill Bible.
The bill Bible.
You never know. Well, that reminds me, we have our water bill.
Oh, yeah.
Got
Put it in the Bible.
You never know.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
That offends Manuel.
All right, now we're in Malachi chapter 1 to 4. God's love for Israel. The book opens with God affirming his love for Israel, contrasting his favor towards Jacob with his rejection of Esau, Edom. God enduring, committing to Israel is highlighted despite their doubts. God rebukes a priest for showing contempt in their worship. They are offering defiled sacrifices, blemished animals on the altar, which dishonor God. The priests are accused of disrespecting God's name, and God declares that his name will be great among the nations, unlike the polluted offering that they bring. Chapter 2, the priest, God warns the priest that if they don't honor his name, he will curse them. The covenant of Levi, which was meant to bring life and peace, has been corrupted by the priest's failure to teach the truth, and their partially in the matters of the law. The people of Judah are accused of unfaithfulness, particularly in marrying foreign women who worship other gods, and in being unfaithful to their wives. And this unfaithfulness leads to God's rejection of their offering, as it violates the covenant of marriage which God instituted. Which there were, that was the same thing that Solomon did. That married other women, and it's not about I think other women. It says that other women had other different gods, and it will sway them away from God Himself. But I don't think He has anything wrong. If they were all like worshiping God, I don't think He would have a problem. It was just that they'll sway them over. As chapter 3, the God promises to send a messenger who will prepare the way before him. The messenger is often understood as a reference to John the Baptist who prepared the way for Jesus. The Lord himself will come suddenly to his temple, bring purification and judgment. God calls the people to return to him, promising that if they do, he will return to them. The people are challenged to stop robbing God by withholding tithes and offerings. God invites them to test him, bring the full tithes, promising abundant blessings to return.
Oh, that's the verse that all the iglesias put on during ofrenda time.
Probably. And then God speaks of the future day when those who fear him will be his treasured possession. He will disguise between the righteous and the wicked, rewarding those who serve him. Distinguish. I put this, guys. He will distinguish between the righteous and the wicked, and rewarding those who serve him. Chapter 4, the coming day of judgment. The final chapter describes the coming day of the Lord, the day that will burn like a furnace, consuming the arrogant and evildoers. But those who fear God, the Son of Righteousness, will rise with healing, bringing renewal and joy. God promises to send the prophet Elijah before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Elijah will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children and the heart of the children to their fathers to prevent total destructions. The book closes with a reminder to remember that the law of Moses and stay faithful, anticipating of the coming of the day of the Lord. So that's pretty much it. I don't know if it was talking about Elijah in the time of now at the end, or it was talking about Elijah the time when John came, where people thought, when they asked him, are you, oh, well, that's in the future, right? Where are you, when they asked John the Baptist, are you the one that's going to come to Elijah? Or if it's talking about, like, because it said the dreadful day of the Lord, that's usually the end times. So, I don't know. Any questions? Any thoughts?
Mm-mm.
So after this is the silence, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 400 plus years.
Which I didn't think about it, but when we're reading today, isn't it like 14 generations?
Is it?
Yeah, it's 14 generations from, I think, Abraham to David. And then 14 from David to Daniel. And I think 14 from Daniel to Jesus, I think.
Isn't there a chronological?
Yeah,
somewhere?
that's what I was reading today. And it was talking about that. That was pretty interesting. I think it was like 14 generations with the silence. I don't know how many years is that, but we'll see it as we get to the New Testament. But yeah, that was pretty interesting though too. JP, any thoughts?
Nee.
You look like there's greatness in your eyes, wisdom.
Mm-mm.
We'd like to know your thoughts.
Don't worry, we'll know next week when you.
We won't understand them.
Make
I
the
get
pod.
you.
Mm-mm.
I see such a wisdom in
10-minute pod. Mm-hmm. You blink, you'll miss it. Mm-hmm.
No, you have enough time to blink because it's never 10 minutes.
It's gonna be 10 minutes this time. Watch, I'm having a clock. Y'all can't have no opinions. Y'all can't know.
Can't make me do anything.
Well,
You are fake news.
That's the one we're gonna talk the most.
I know.
When?
Well, thank you for joining us.
Why did you sound Indian?
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Come again.
We'll see you next week. Or
Yes. And we'll start the New Testament next week. Adios.
Adios.
bye.
Adios.